A lot of you ask about the gear and software I use to edit and shoot video and photo and all sorts of different things. So if you don't care about tech and specs, then this is not the video for you. But to start off, here is my first ever camera that was my own. I think I got this for my birthday in 2nd grade maybe, when I was 8 or so. It still works. The quality is subjective, but I thought I would maybe use this camera with this audio though, because the audio is terrible, to show you my current setup with the camera, since I don't like have a mirror. So this is the Canon Rebel 700D, also known as the T5i. It was made kind of a while ago. Like, it's definitely not a very new camera here. However, it still works. The specs aren't amazing. It's full 1080p at 30 FPS or 24 FPS. The FPS is frames per second, so just how many images are shown each second. I won't go super in-depth with that, but it does 1080p, which is considered the standard, even though 4K will probably be the standard soon. And then 720p, which is considered low HD or the old standard, and it can shoot up to 60 FPS with that. But yeah, I got this in 2015, 2014? I think 2015. It's not even the newest one. There's a T6i now, and these are considered like the entry-level ones, so not super professional, but it's done the perfect job, and it is extremely hardy. Now you can see there's a very weird lens on it. This is considered a fixed lens, so it can't actually zoom. It can only focus and do nothing else. I really like this. It's really cool for a lot of images. It's not ideal for video, but I broke my main one, which it lasted a long time. This thing has suffered through so much mud and scratches and concrete and rain and drops and herps peeing all over it. It's amazing it lasted this long. So rest in peace, my main lens. But luckily I have this one to use, even if it is a bit of a pain, since I can't zoom at all. Okay, I won't make you suffer with that quality anymore, so I'll show you the other parts with the actual camera. This is the Rode VideoMic Pro. It's one of the older versions, but this is a super helpful piece of equipment. Because the built-in microphones are usually really bad in DSLRs, I don't think there's ever been a good one. However, this can really solve the problem. You can see there's also a mic right here. I use an assortment of different microphones and switch them out and stuff. So you are actually not listening to this. There are some downsides with this. There tend to be a bit more echo and not quite as good quality, like if you're just talking to the camera. But if you don't want to have to sync up all the video tracks and sync up the audio clips with different audio inputs, it might be nice if you get something like this that just goes directly on top of the camera. This just plugs in. It doesn't work with all DSLRs. You can see first with yours, and then there's newer versions now that are nicer than this one. But this one's worked for me for a couple years now, and it's been very nice. And then this is also a Rode product. It's the SmartLav Plus, which is hooked directly into my phone. Then on the phone, I'm just using some free recording app. Yeah, it's just a built-in app for the audio. So what I can do afterwards is I just export this and then upload it to Google Drive and download it on my computer, and then put it into my software, which I'll talk about later. Luckily, I'm like basically completely wireless, so no matter where I am compared to the camera, the audio is the same, which is very helpful in a lot of things, but there are some downsides. But speaking of phones, this is one of the best cameras. I shoot a lot of stuff just with this phone. This is the Samsung S6 Edge. It's like 3 years old or something, and it still works perfectly. In fact, it shoots higher quality resolution than the camera that you're looking through. However, there are more functionalities with the manual options on DSLRs, which the phone hasn't, but it's a big pain to do it with, and there's no lenses or anything. However, this is still an amazing piece of equipment to shoot stuff with, and the audio is much nicer on this compared to the built-in one on that camera. Okay, next up we can talk about the tripod that I use. I highly suggest that a lot of you invest in a tripod. It sounds kind of dumb, but they're just so useful. Like, as you can see right now, I'm even getting very shaky shots, which you can definitely do stuff handheld. However, some sort of cheap tripod is perfect. I've used an assortment of different tripods. I have a tendency to just buy and sell all of my old gear, so it's constantly changing. But right now, I'm using the Zomi. I think it's some Asian company. The Zomi Q666C. There's lots of different types of materials that tripods are made out of. There's plastic, aluminum, carbon fiber, probably it. And this one is carbon fiber. It's more expensive than aluminum. However, what was it? I got this on sale, so I did not pay the full price, but it's like twice as expensive as the aluminum. However, it's much lighter, so it's very easy to carry around, and it's sturdier and stronger, along with being more stable. You even have this right here, which is used to hold a sandbag if you want a super sturdy shot, which can be useful for things like long exposures. What is this called? Like a ball gimbal or whatever? I don't know what that's called. But it has a, what, 3-way axis? 4-way? X, it has all the axes, so it's very useful. It comes up much higher than this, and it's probably my best tripod I've ever used. There's another one I had, but unfortunately I broke it. And then this leg even comes off and becomes a monopod if you just want one pod for your camera. Next up is probably the biggest game changer of my videos, that just being the lighting. This light set is pretty cheap. It was like $60 for both of them, plus the lights. The lights in these are gigantic, but they don't get super hot. And the great thing about this is it's just perfect, very bright artificial lighting with whatever I want to shoot. Like here, let me show you. I'll leave the camera at the same settings, but I'll turn these off. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't look that bad. But if I get in front of the camera, you can see that window lighting. Now you can definitely work with window lighting. Like okay, I don't know if that's, like maybe that works. You can definitely work with things. It's so hard to hold this camera without a tripod. Basically what I'm trying to say is lighting is a great investment if it's in your budget to make videos. Definitely not required, but it does make a very big difference when it comes to showing off your enclosures or whatever you're doing. On these, something very important, the reason that these things are so torn up, like I have duct tape all over these, just because everything's tearing on them because they're always falling over, which is why I got sandbags, extremely useful and extremely cheap. So I literally just filled, what's that? It's old turtle gravel, actually, and that holds them in place. So if you are interested in getting studio lighting and it is heavy like this, even if it's LED panels, which are smaller but still heavy, I suggest that you get something to weigh down. I did actually make some with Ziploc bags, but then I dumped sand everywhere because the bags tore. This tripod is great to use, especially outside. If I'm like moving around, doing a lot outside, which I haven't done in a while, mostly because it's cold. But this is capable, this is the Joby GorillaPod Zoom, and it can hold a full-size DSLR without falling over. So you could definitely use this inside too. It's definitely not as big as a normal tripod, but it's super convenient. It's made of just some sort of plastic, but it's very strong, and Joby is a great brand. For some reason there's a stick of gum here, but that's my phone number. Extra batteries are also great to use, or not great to, well, of course they're great to use. They're great to get though, because I get very angry when I have to recharge the batteries. So I got some knockoff ones, which they're not as good, they don't last as long, but I can get 4 of them for like the price of 1/2 of a normal Canon one, because Canon's so expensive with their batteries. This is just an old film camera. I don't even have any film. However, I do use the lenses off of this, because they work with basically any Canon. Then the other things I have here, this is the GoPro Hero 3 Plus Black Edition. Very old model. What are they on now? The Hero 6 or the Hero 5? I don't even know. GoPro's a dying brand. I'm sorry, GoPro, but other companies are kind of making better cameras. However, I use this a lot in the summer and spring when I'm doing stuff outdoors. Sometimes I just put this like in the enclosure to get other shots. So not something I use a ton. I used to use it a lot more. And then these are the two, these are actually film lenses, but because I broke my main lens, I've been using these to shoot a lot of the videos. Next up, we can go ahead over to my editing station, I guess, with Open LaCroix. Now this is something that's just constantly evolving and changing. I'm always switching stuff out with new pieces and selling the old pieces. Sometimes the computer's on the desk, sometimes it's off the desk and beneath with all the cords. But I'll quickly go over the actual hardware, and then I'll get into the software of editing and stuff. Firstly, we've got the computer here. Sometimes I have the door on, sometimes off. I have it off right now because I don't want a bunch of fans on, but it shouldn't overheat. So this is keeping it cool. There's so much dust in there. This is a Raid Max case with some Lego on top. I actually bought this pre-built, but I had it for a few years now. So I ended up switching out every single piece except for the power supply and the graphics card. everything else in the fans and then the case, but all the other pieces have been replaced either because they stopped working or because I needed an upgrade. Right here you can see probably the best thing I've ever bought. This ultra wide monitor. It's 21:9 compared to a normal 16:9 monitor, which the problem is if you're considering getting one of these, a normal shape, this is 16:9, it looks like a square. I'm so used to having such a stretched out image that it makes other monitors kind of annoying. For context, just to remind you, I didn't like automatically buy all this stuff at once. This is my original PC setup from a couple years ago. And then before that, I was editing on a Mac that I got for free. And before that, I was editing on an even worse Mac that I was sharing with my family. So it took, I don't know, like 6 years of YouTube to get a setup that I am extremely happy with and that lets me work very efficiently. Right here, this is my newest keyboard. It's an Pro 60%. And you can see there's almost like no keys on it. And I love it, it's really fun to use. There are no FN keys, no arrow keys, and no number pad, which you might think that's weird. However, I found a subreddit called Mechanical Keyboards and I got like obsessed with these because they're so adorable and fun to use. And some of them, like the Pros, have all sorts of color features. Any Italians watching? I don't know why there's an Italian flag. However, I haven't been using this one long enough to actually say just how good it is. So before that, I was using the Razer, Razer Deathstalker Chroma. If I really like this one, I'm just gonna probably sell this because I can use the money for reptiles or whatever. I used this one for a few years and really enjoyed it, but I thought it was time for a change. So I went with this one. It's not super expensive. It's actually cheaper than this. However, you can see I'm really into wireless stuff. The keyboard, mouse, headphones, they're all wireless, which I really love. It makes it look nicer. And it's more convenient. I wear these like while I'm shooting or, cleaning enclosures. And then just having a wireless mouse and stuff means that it's just way easier to do everything. And this Logitech, it's the Logitech G602. It feels like amazing. It has a lot of weight to it. It's really fun to use. You have all these buttons, which are also great for gaming. I have 6 buttons on the side, 2 buttons right here, the wheel right there. It is so hard to shoot this with one hand, and then just a left and right. And you can program all the keys to whatever you want. Next, I've got one of my newer things that I got. I invested in this basically for GoHerping and for Discord. This is the Blue Yeti, what's it called? Just the Blue Yeti? It's not the Pro version, so it's slightly cheaper, but very high quality, and it's USB. I actually had an XLR microphone with a whole audio interface, but I ended up selling it all because it was kind of just more of a pain. So I decided to basically simplify, look at something higher quality with this one. Then stuffed inside the PC case, it's so unorganized in here. I literally just shoved all of my other external hard drives. That's probably not safe, I don't know. There's an 8 terabyte right there, 500 gigabyte SSD right there, that's an HDD. And then this is a 2 terabyte, I think, because I don't delete any footage. I hate deleting anything. I really like keeping all of my data, all of my files in full res to use in like future dates. And then I've got some very nice blue LEDs and then red LEDs and the motherboard. High quality headphones. I got these a few months ago maybe. For years I was just using like random cheap headphones that were just lying around the house or whatever. It's so much easier to monitor audio, make sure everything's level, make adjustments and all that stuff as I get kind of more professional with editing, I guess. But these make everything much more convenient and efficient. I keep saying the word efficient. Basically everything I do is either slightly for look. For example, this isn't the super efficient to not have any arrow keys since I have to program other like double layer things. But generally, I invest in everything that's gonna make me more efficient and then in return, letting me make higher quantities of content, hopefully that are higher quality. And then in return, it means I have more cash flow to become even more efficient and make even more stuff. On top, this is the Logitech C920, I think that's what it's called. It claims to be full HD 1080p. It doesn't look amazing, I didn't expect it to. So just a simple thing because there's no built-in camera. Oh, what? For some reason oh jeez. I just grabbed the fan, I wasn't looking. And then right here, it keeps going to sleep. Also, I just realized I'm a borderline weeb with all my anime wallpapers. So this is a laptop that I invested in. I got it refurbished on sale, so I didn't have to pay full price. It is, here, let me just pull the specs up. I know it has 8 gigs of RAM. It is an Intel i7 7700 with 2.8 gigahertz. I got this because I don't want to be stuck on my desk all the time. There's a pretty high chance that if you've gotten an email response from me, it was probably written at Starbucks with this laptop. So basically this just lets me be a lot more mobile, whether it's because I want to edit downstairs or because I want to edit while getting a coffee or something. I try to keep my desk minimal. It's so messy right now. Look at those terrifying cords. So now before we get into the software, I'll just talk about the actual specs on the desktop build. Like I said, I've changed almost every single piece out of this over the past number of years, very slowly giving it upgrades because, I don't know, I guess I'll forever be upgrading it unless I just completely swap out computers. But right here, this is a newer fan I got because I have upgraded to a new CPU. It's the AMD Ryzen 5 1600X. But the 1600, it's possible it'll be able to work with 4K, but if not, it should be able to do 1080p for quite a while before I upgrade to 4K whenever I do that with camera gear. The motherboard, I can't remember what it is. And then I've got a video or graphics card, or if you want to call it. This, when you're editing like with lots of different layers and files and stuff, you're basically going to require some sort of graphics or video card. This one's not amazing, but it does work to help speed the process along a bit. Then I've got a Seagate 2 terabyte or 1 terabyte HDD. Now, I wouldn't have bought that, but my previous hard drive failed entirely. It really sucked. I have stuff backing it up automatically. However, I didn't realize that this backup stopped working also. A lot of them were like unimportant stuff, but that kind of sucked. Luckily, it's backing up again. We should be good now. Hopefully. Back there you can see I've got DDR4 Corsair RAM. I've got 2 8GB RAM sticks there. Okay, I think we're done with that. Leave any questions that you want. But now we can get into the actual software. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Speaking of the Blue Yeti, that's what I'm now talking into. And hopefully you can see everything here. So I want to talk a bit about software. I use the Adobe Creative Cloud. I've used it for a couple years now. However, it is, I understand it's out of a lot of people's price range. Depending on what you get, it's between, I think the entire thing is like $500 a year. However, if you can get access to the student version, that's even cheaper. But there's tons of free options while this loads, if it'll load. For example, the clock is always chirping. For example, for a few years, I just used iMovie, which is completely free if you have a Mac computer. If you have Windows computer, there's plenty of free software, like Windows Movie Maker even. And then if you just have a smaller price range, there's things like, what's it called? Let me see. Adobe Premiere Elements is made by Adobe, but it's only a one-time payment of $70. So there's lots of different things that you can pick from if you do not have access to the Creative Cloud. However, for the actual videos, I use Adobe Premiere Pro CC. This is the Sandboa build that I just did. You can see it's comprised of lots of layers, which that's the very nice thing. It's very easy to layer different things. Like you can see right here, I've got different things going on. I think this was a narration right here. Let me just mute these. This clip was a narration, and then the music, it picks back up. There goes the music as I go through more clips. You can see there's cuts right here because I sped this clip up, if I'm right. Yeah, this clip is sped up to 14 frames, when in reality it was like a couple seconds long. And even now I'm still getting some choppiness because I don't have an amazing graphics card. And then you can see here, I have different things pulling in. It's very choppy here because it's through a whole nother software, which takes a lot more memory. So what I have going on here is I have all the main stuff that I cut through. Not responding, very nice. Did it just crash? No, it didn't. I think the fact that I'm recording what I'm doing at the same time is really slowing it down. But it's also just because software always sucks sometimes. So essentially I edit just all of the primary stuff in Premiere Pro. It's considered professional grade, so if it's the very, like, you shouldn't get it as your first software. You're just gonna I feel I would get very frustrated if this is what I was using at first, because this is like what movies are edited in. So it's gonna be probably less efficient. I would say get what's most efficient and most productive and realistic for what you want to do. So all of this stuff is edited directly in Premiere Pro. Why are there more clips missing? Come on. I'm just having a bad day for software. But then on top of that, I make other stuff and do other stuff in the other software that comes with the Creative Cloud. For example, you can see right here, I've got this graphic that shows up. I animate all the graphics in After Effects, which I have opening now. After Effects is like a sister software to it. As you can see right here, the AE. It's made for motion graphics and different things like that. So mostly what I do is I create graphics like this, the special like zoom stuff and custom transitions. For example, this right here. That little zoom took about 10 minutes just to make that. Just to make that, and then maybe another 5 or 10 minutes to render it all and stuff. Because you can do a lot more to really just perfect it. And then things like this transition, if it'll play. 1 second, gotta render it first. Rendering takes a while. It would be much faster if I had, I guess a faster CPU or something, but too expensive for me. You can see right here it was like that. This is a custom one that I made. It took me, I don't know, maybe 2 hours to make it, an hour or 2. However, since I made that a few months ago, I can just save it and then reuse the transition myself. I think people even make these where you can download them. But all of that is done in this software. Let's open one that I already have. For example, here's the things I made. It's still a bit choppy. This is for the patrons. As you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers to this. I essentially made just each thing like this green piece right here, and then this other darker green along with the text and the gray. Each piece is then animated to my liking. This isn't like a tutorial, so I'm not really explaining it all, but essentially it gives you the option to choose exactly when different things go where and when it happens. But the great thing about After Effects is essentially there's like 0 limits to it, but the bad thing about that is it took me forever to figure out what I was doing. Still, I get very irritated at times, which is why YouTube is my best friend, because I learned how to do everything there. The next software we can look at is Premiere Pro. I think I already have it, or not Premiere Pro, Photoshop, which I already have open. Photoshop is what I use for a lot of the graphics and videos, along with the thumbnails. So Photoshop, of course, is where I edit photos. Here's an image that I haven't actually put anywhere yet. So yes, I know that's what Adobe Lightroom is for. I use both of them with images, but I've used Photoshop for longer, so that's what I normally use. However, in addition to this, it's where I make things like my thumbnails and other graphics, and the logo I made. Actually, parts of the logo was made in a different Creative Cloud software. This is so confusing. It's gonna be such a long video. But that's the great thing about it. I'm probably blurring this just because I don't want you to see any like personal details. But basically, Adobe has everything that you need for every single aspect of your creativity, I guess. That's a weird way to put it, but there's that. As you can see here, this is my thumbnail thing. It's kind of the template that I made, but I try and mix it up a lot. As you can see down on the bottom right side, I have different layers. For example, here, if you want to steal it, this is the GoHerping color scheme, which I made a number of months ago. So I use these colors on everything with all the graphics, all of the thumbnails, the website, which I'm still updating, the logo, the banner, the like real stuff like business cards or whatever. And I try to keep this organized, so I have some different templates that I created that I like to use. So I just kind of played around with it. I don't actually use these anymore. I need to update those. And then another Adobe app that I use is, where is it? Well, it's Adobe Audition. I really don't need to show you it. We'll see it if it pops up. But Audition is specifically for audio. So basically Premiere is like the whole base of cutting all the video, and then you can connect that to Audition for editing audio, connect that to After Effects for adding After Effects, along with different animations and graphics and things. Then Photoshop I use for more graphics, photo editing, stuff like that. And those are really the main ones that I use. Also for personal photography, I use Lightroom if I want to have some sort of album. Lightroom is made specifically for photography and nothing else. And then as you can see here, this is an audio file. So that's all you get to see. There's nothing else. You just edit the audio here. So it gets a little bit, I guess, hectic, but I've learned how to kind of organize everything, how to work in between stuff while keeping it consistent. Okay, well, I'm not consistent with uploads, but keep it as efficient as I can while I learn to edit more quickly and hopefully edit better. But really, the main thing I'm hanging out in all day is Adobe Premiere Pro, because that's where all the fun stuff gets done. But I wanted to make this because maybe it's time that you need some upgrades to something, you want to see what I use, maybe you're just curious and you like videos on hardware and software, or you are interested in starting to do stuff. So again, these are not things that I bought like all at once. This is where I essentially invest all of my money, because in return, this is where I end up creating opportunities for more money, which means I can do more stuff with reptiles and tech and photo and camera stuff, which is what I enjoy to do. I think there is essentially some sort of setup that will work for any budget. When I started making videos, the very first time I did videos on animals, smartphones didn't even exist. I was like 7 or 8 shooting them on a film camera, which there was no YouTube to put it on. Or I guess there was YouTube, but I didn't know what it was. But essentially, if you're watching this video, that probably means you are capable of making one if you're interested, because you either have a smartphone, which is arguably the best camera because it's so convenient, so small, you always have it. Or if you have a tablet or a computer, I think you can make it work. But feel free to ask more questions or talk more about this kind of stuff. I'm not gonna talk about this a ton on GoHerping from now on. If you do need a Photoshop alternative, my favorite has been GIMP. It's a bit clunky, you could say. I don't even know if I have it installed right now. Oh yeah, I do. But GIMP is great, that's what I was using. And then, like I said before, Premiere. I actually used to use Final Cut Pro. Turns out I hate Final Cut Pro. I used it for maybe a year or so. It's $300 that I wish I could get back. So that was a mistake. That's when I was using Apple, which was another mistake. And then before that, it was all free software, borrowing my mom's camera to make videos and using the family computer to edit in free iMovie software. Oh yeah, some other things. This is what I'm using to record this. Like for example, the spam comments video or the snake should be illegal video. I do all that with OBS or Open Broadcast software. This is entirely free, completely open source, free to use, which is very nice and convenient, and now Steam is open. But I think that's it. I'm sure I forgot stuff. I knew I was gonna forget something. I'm not sure what I forgot though. But leave your questions, leave anything else related. How long is this video? This video is gonna be like a half an hour long. I've been shooting for 50 minutes. Here's the Discord server if you need some quality entertainment. But yeah, everything is linked in the description below if you want to use anything or see it on Amazon. They are affiliate links, so that's great to use if you're an Amazon user, which is everybody. I thought it'd be for this video. So I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.